The character Greg Heffley has been called many things before. A good friend, a bad friend, a sociopath. I mean, you name it. People in the real world and in the fictional world of Diary of a Wimpy Kid have different ideas of who Greg Heffley really is. But it's very clear from Greg's perspective that what he wants to be is popular at his school and maybe one day rich and famous. So if Greg is so ambitious, why does he always fail at his goals? It feels like for every step forward, he takes like 10 steps back. Well, there's actually good reasoning behind that. Greg kind of has a very weird mindset where he actually ranks kids in his grade from least popular to most popular, both in the first book and movie, and he doesn't really stop to consider that everyone thinks differently, and even though certain people are popular among different friend groups, they're not very well known to others. And if Greg really wants to draw attention to himself, he doesn't really have a good strategy, because in many ways he's kind of afraid to be himself. Instead of focusing on stuff he's good at, like drawing, he's always doing other crazy things to get attention. And don't get me wrong, yeah, in the first book he actually tried out for the comics and the newspaper, and that ended up being a fail, but he didn't have to give up there. He does draw some other stuff throughout the series, but he doesn't really come up with good ways to make that huge. And so in a lot of ways, Greg's always focused on profiting off of certain things, trying to make shortcuts to getting what he wants, but he doesn't just try to do what he's good at, and at the same time, he also isn't always willing to try new stuff. Maybe he could become more popular if he joined a certain sport. I mean, of course he did wrestling, which didn't really work out for him. And later on he did basketball because his parents forced him to. Even in the 11th book, this isn't a sport, but he did become part of the band, which is a club. But you know what all these things have in common? It's not that Greg is naturally bad at them, he clearly isn't even practicing.
Brilliant but lazy.
Not to mention, Greg really doesn't try too hard to expand his friend group. Mostly because he just wants to be friends with Riley, who he knows he can control. In many ways, Greg is actually intimidated by the fellow students of his school. But even if Greg can't be some superstar that gets all the attention, you have to keep in mind that there's a lot of weird people at his school like Fregley and Riley who get a different type of attention. Everyone was going crazy about Fregley being able to blow bubblegum in his belly button, and they all wanted to sit by him at lunch. And so if Greg wanted to be all weird and do weird stuff, he would still get some type of attention. And so maybe Greg was partially right about ranking people from most popular to least popular, but in reality it's really more so people who are popular for being cool or people who are popular for being weird. And Greg isn't cool enough or weird enough, so he just kind of blends in. He's just an average kid. And the crazy thing about all this is the fact that Greg Heffley is clearly very self-centered, just kind of a selfish person. And despite wanting to be popular and that kind of stuff, his mindset ironically just keeps him further away from his goals. But maybe in the grand scheme of things, this is for the best, because considering Greg's work ethic, he's never actually going to be rich and famous in his adult life. And so maybe it's good that he's not all popular at his school, because he doesn't want to be one of those people that peak in middle school. He'll be better prepared for the real world. And I actually am very curious if Jeff Kinney's going to end up addressing some of this stuff in future books in the series. But overall, let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this whole situation. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.